Hello, this is a video from the Voyager STEAM Lab. I'm Trevor Lewis, and I'm here with the Lewis children. We have been sewing masks. These masks that we're wearing right here have been sewn by the children and us and Mommy, who's holding the dog off on the side and not in the video. This video is not going to focus really on exactly how to sew a mask, but how to take information from a bunch of different videos that you're probably seeing online and merge it together into a project that you actually can make, and how to work with what you've got, because not everybody's got all the supplies that they need. So what we've discovered by making some masks is we've discovered a few different things. Did our first mask work out perfectly, children? No. So just like in class, the thing that really helps is iteration. So what that means is you do a mask and you learn from it and you make adjustments. Like this mask, at first it went all the way up here and the cord started right here and it went back underneath my ear and this front part kept falling down. So we figured out the attachment point on these types of masks needs to be more like in the middle of your cheek. So we figured that out, for example. Sometimes our masks are smaller than we thought they would be because even with the seam allowance, when we sewed it together, it ended up shrinking a little bit more than we thought it would shrink. Yeah. And we figured out the best way to get the straps or the ear loops, because otherwise they're too loose and they fall off like that. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about medical advice because I'm not a medical professional. I do recommend that you look up how to safely wear a mask, and the thing that seemed really important to me is to not use this as in place of social distancing, but in addition to social distancing and hand washing. So when you can't social distance, when you have to go out in public, now they're recommending you wear a mask. And since we're in the STEAM lab, it kind of makes sense for us to try and make some masks because we make things in the STEAM lab. So the things that you're going to need is you're going to need fabric. So we used a few different things. These fabrics that we have on our face here were from an old project where we just had some cotton fabric lying around. There's other sources of fabric you can use. We'll go into all the sources in a minute. You also are going to need something that's going to hold it on. So something string-like or elastic. And the other part that's really important is this part right here. To get it to fit to your face, you're going to need some sort of bendable wire. So we actually put some wire in there, and it holds its shape. So there's a little pocket that we've sewn in there with a wire in it, and we can bend the wire to fit our nose so the air doesn't slide past our nose. So those are the things that we need. Let's go over where we got some of this from. So if you are having a hard time finding fabric, one thing that we learned was we have to check with our whole family before we start cutting things up that other people might want to keep. So we used an old t-shirt. So this t-shirt was starting to fade. So we cut a part out of the back of it, and it actually is inside of this mask right here as an extra layer. So this is one type of mask that we made. These are rectangular masks, and then we pleated them so that they can expand in the middle a little bit. The other type of mask that we made is a little bit more three-dimensional, and it fits over your face. These ones are made out of 4 pieces instead of just 2. So, and then the other part that you need once you have got the fabric is you need something to go around. We used ribbon, although the ribbon can fray a little bit when you sew it. Mine is using ribbon. And you can use pretty much anything, though. You could use like cord, or you could use, we have some shoelaces. This one over here, this is one of the first masks we made. This one is using bias tape. So bias tape is something you use in sewing projects, and we had some kicking around, and it folds up. But we unfolded it here to create an attachment point, but then you have to sew along the length of the bias tape to seal it up. And bias tape can be hard to work with, but if you've got some bias tape, that works too. This is bias tape. The elastic, though, is what we thought works best, but we couldn't order any elastic, and we didn't have any on hand. So where did we get this elastic? Well, we had a good idea. We were looking for a place to buy fabric, and we looked online, and we did not find a lot of fabric, but because we're trying to stay in right now. But what we did find was we could order sheets. And we ordered fitted sheets. And then what we did was we tore the seam out And these are the type of fitted sheets where the elastic actually goes all the way around the sheet, not just in the corners. So that's quite a bit of elastic. So we're going to use the fabric to make masks and use the elastic to make the ear loops. We found the elastic works best, especially you don't have to be as precise, and it's easier than tying. So you can make masks that fit different sizes. Because what are we going to do with the masks that we're going to make besides the ones that we're going to use?
We are going to put them in a basket outside for our mail people, our garbage people, and lots of other people who just would like a mask. Yeah, so we're gonna have some masks available for anybody who has to be out right now, out in the community, keeping things going for everybody. So that's what we're gonna do. That's our plan. We also, you don't have to have a sewing machine, but you do need some thread and you do need some needles. This one that I'm wearing right here is all hand sewn. So we used hand sewing techniques, and we used a running stitch and a locking stitch, or a back stitch, back stitch and a running stitch, and then we turned it inside out, and we just followed some designs. We also watched a lot of videos, and we saw sort of the designs, and you can see we had different iterations here. At first we had it very very squared off, but now we have this more of a slope. So this is the size that I'm wearing right now. The first one that I made for myself ended up too small, but it worked for somebody else. So that worked out well. I would definitely go bigger than you think you need to go. Another thing that might be helpful is some sort of pins. We have the sewing pins, but if you just had like safety pins, or even if you didn't have pins, you could sew just one stitch to hold the two pieces of fabric together while you're sewing them. In general, when you're sewing, you want to sew the right sides together like this. And you're going to sew with a seam allowance, some amount of fabric that's going to prevent it from fraying. And then you turn it inside out. And that way it'll fold over. The other thing that can really help is an iron. So if you have an iron, you can press it down before you sew it again. This one is edge stitched. Let's see if I can get this on the camera. So that edge stitching was a lot easier after I pressed it with the iron. But with this hand sewn one, I tried it with no iron. So it works with the iron or works without an iron. So what else did we learn? Is there anything else that's useful? Make sure with ones like these, rectangle ones, make sure to put, when you're turning them inside out, put it on the inside of it, because we found that the hard way. So
the straps need to be, if you're sewing it inside out with the right sides together, the straps need to be in between those two pieces. Because otherwise, when you turn it inside out, the straps are then on the inside of the mask, which doesn't help anybody, right? Another thing that we did was the wire for the nose. So we had some electrical wire kicking around, some copper electrical wire, so it bends and holds its shape. I've seen people use floral wire. I've seen people use even just like a metal coat hanger. Pipe cleaner. It needs to hold its shape. The thinner wire is probably a little bit easier to work with, but I wouldn't go much thicker than a coat hanger. And if you're cutting wire, be careful. Don't just use your scissors. You'll break them pretty hard. You want to use something that's designed to cut wire. So check with somebody first before you do that, so that you can cut the wire without ruining your scissors. All right, children. You got anything else that you need to contribute? All right, so we'll show you sort of how we're going to be distributing these masks.
So as you can see, what we did to get our masks ready to go for the people that we are preparing these for is we washed and dried it in a garment bag, which is what is recommended so that the straps don't get all tangled up or torn apart. These are hand-sewn masks, so we also, I think we washed it on the delicate cycle on our washing machine. And then we just moved them to the dryer and running them through the dryer. And you can see that when we're handling the masks after they've been washed and dried, we are wearing gloves, and we are wearing our own masks to keep our germs off the masks and make sure that they are ready to go for the people who need them, so that we have masks that are clean and ready to go, although they can wash them and dry them themselves too. So now we are hanging the basket with the masks outside of our door. And we're going to put up a sign too, so that everyone knows what they're for and that they can take them themselves. We decided to hang it because we had a hook up in front of our house, But if you find a good spot for them, and I'll share some pictures here of the art that the kids did. So I hope you enjoyed our video. Here's the sign that we put up next to there, and the sidewalk chalk the children did to help out the first responders and all the people who are out there helping everybody who are essential workers. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helped you figure out how you could do a project like this and how to take different information and put it all together. I'm going to put some links to some of the resources we used in the description of this video, so go ahead and check those out. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can just look down in the description.